welcome to Two Players, One Controller, where we attempt to harmonize gaming with family life. My name is Blinkdoor.
I'm Hedgehog Baker.
And today we're talking about Carto, a cute little game that we love, and we've played through twice now. You played through it the second time. I played through it the first time.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. This game is really neat. It's a little indie game. You play as a little girl, and you fall tragically out of your grandma's airship float. But you have the power to move the map around where you're standing to kind of solve the puzzle and go on your adventure. And the music is great. The visuals are fantastic, and I just love it.
Was that your summary?
That was my summary.
Okay, can I do my summary?
Yes.
Yay. First, I'll say that if my voice sounds a little weird today, or if I'm trying to stifle any laughing, it's because about a week ago I got all 4 wisdom teeth ripped out of my face.
Hardcore.
It's been rough. The last week has disappeared, but Carto has, helped me through that.
It was a great game for you to play during recovery.
It was a great game. It's part of the reason why I wanted to do it for this episode.
I agree.
So that I had an excuse to buy it on the Switch.
Yeah. I think that was an awesome recovery game.
But my summary for the game, there's, like Blinkdoor said, there's a cute little girl, and she falls out of her grandma's airship because
She was just being curious.
Well, yeah, she found something really fun.
Yeah.
And she was playing with it. And when you remember throughout the game how young she probably is, she's probably about Bunny's age.
She has to be Bunny's age, 5.
Yeah, because she doesn't talk a lot.
No.
She just kind of makes symbols and people understand her. And
she makes little emoji faces.
She makes little faces and waves her hands around for the volcano. It's really cute.
Yeah.
But yes, so she ends up falling, but she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to explore through this world, recovering the puzzle pieces, the pieces of the map that her grandma had, to make her way through the world and find her way back to her grandma.
That's right.
And it's really sweet, and she meets a lot of really fun and charming people who are so sweet and willing to help her, and it's so charming.
Super charming.
I love it so much.
100% charming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That might need to be a new scale. 5 out of 5.
Charming scale.
Yeah.
Well, who made this game? Who made this game? You got the details.
So Sunhead Games.
Yes.
An indie developer in Taiwan made this game. I really love in their about section on their page.
Yeah.
It just says an independent game studio in Taiwan. We try to make games.
They try their best.
They were formed and founded in 2012.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
They only have 3 games out.
Huh.
They made 2 mobile games, The Swords and A Ride in the Mountains.
Okay.
A Ride into the Mountains.
Very good.
Yes. That are they have very interesting stories and very charming styles as well.
Okay.
So I'm kind of curious to check those out.
Yeah.
But Carto is their first full-on console game.
Sure, yeah. And they got picked up by a somewhat large publisher, Humble Games.
Back in 2020.
Way a long time ago in 2020. And yeah, they were picked up by Humble Games, which, for those who don't know, Humble Games is a part of the Humble Bundle. It started out as Humble Bundle, in which you can buy collections of games where the proceeds go to some form of charity. You can... Why are you staring at me?
I don't know. Hi.
I'm going to cut that out.
You don't have to.
We'll see. Yeah, so they're a part of Humble Bundle, which you can buy loads of games from them for really low prices, and the proceeds go to charity. Humble Games has made, they've published some of the most incredible indie games of our time, including A Hat in Time, Slay the Spire, Wizard of Legend, and the upcoming Temtem, which is coming out in 1.0 version here very soon. So they have done some serious work and they picked up the Sunhead Games guys for Carto.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some other fun facts. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this game has a physical release on im8bit.com, which you don't see that too often for indie games. Not a whole lot of indie games come out or have a privilege of having a physical release. It has a physical release on Switch, which I would love to have, but, money, dollars, don't have enough of those. But it's really saying something when an indie game gets a physical release. It's kind of like a blessing nowadays. Back in the day, everything had a physical release, and it was kind of like, who cares? But now, because everything is just software, getting a physical release of a game, I think means that it is special. It's special.
The weight of its importance.
The weight of its
teleported it from this technical realm into it dropped down from the ether of the internet.
Yeah.
Into a cartridge.
I love that.
I'm in a weird mood. I'm sorry.
This game has some speedrun facts, and I'm going to talk about them because I'm the speedrunner.
Are you going to say that every episode?
I might.
You should.
I am the video game boy, after all. That's something I forgot to mention. That I am the video game boy. This game has a any percent record, which means, beat it as fast as you can. 51 minutes, 29 seconds. So
By whom?
Huh? By whom? Oh, Nagul. Nagul.
Oh, I will say, actually, after mentioning that, my personal speedrun of it was a week.
It's a record.
It is a record for me. There are very few games that I've actually played beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to finish this game the last week of recovery.
And I mean, you played how long would you say that you played, like, per session? Like an hour or two?
Yeah, probably. I think I might have left it on at some point. Like, I think it recorded it as like 40 hours.
Oh gosh.
I don't see how that's
funny.
possible. I don't know. Maybe I misread it.
But I mean, if you were to, like, absolutely slam this game, theoretically you could probably finish it, like, if you dedicated one day to it. Like, one day you could probably, not an afternoon, but one whole day you could probably beat this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to get through it.
Yep. Well, why don't we talk about the gameplay, how the game plays, huh?
Let's do it.
All right, well, I'll start. So I just want to mention that I think what's really cool about this is, like, a chapter book. Because how many chapters are there? There's like 8?
There are 10, I believe.
10? Okay. And you step through each little chapter, and it's its own little, like, all the characters you meet are, they care about their own little worldly problems in that little chapter, and you just kind of visit them and help them out with their problems. Like, the first one is the boat folks, and then you discover that little mini world that they built for that. I guess mini island, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that it's really small, though. It's a really small little world that you start out in, and it just kind of continually grows and expands.
Right.
Which I feel like is similar to how Carto, which is the name of the girl, actually.
Yeah.
Her world, a little bit, is growing and expanding with her discoveries throughout the game, but she's being eased into it and along it.
I think that is neat.
Yeah. And also, it's like in the story Chalet?
Probably Chalet.
I don't know.
It's probably Les Franches.
But there is, like, the book that you read of her. Like, it literally is. The game acknowledges. It's like a cute little storybook.
Yeah, the fourth wall breaking thing where, like, it kind of reads to you what you've been doing.
Yeah.
But we should probably mention what you actually do in the video game. So what makes this game really unique, it's a puzzle game, just straight up. 100% puzzler. Basically no action. You just kind of walk around. But the main draw of this game is that you press the X button or whatever button that is assigned to go to the map screen, and you can take little tiles of the map of the world that you're currently standing on and move them around, flip them around, whatever. And that is like a requirement for you to actually traverse the different areas.
Yeah.
Basically, like, in the first area, there's tiles that have water and grass, right?
And
like
forest.
And forest. And like the forest sides have to match up with another forest side. The water sides have to match up with another water side. Yeah, the
borders have to match similar borders.
Right. So it kind of forces you into this puzzle scenario where, like, it kind of leads you along where you need to go. And then once you get from point A to point B, you talk to another guy to tell you, oh, I need to go north or whatever. And then you kind of like flip around the puzzles, you get more information.
But that is
you
also
discover
what's
things.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's fine.
That's what's interesting and unique about it too. I really like that it's constantly changing it up. Like if someone's saying, I need to go over here.
Yeah.
Then you can figure out, oh, I need to move them that piece over.
Yeah.
And like you are just kind of moving the puzzle pieces the whole time, the map pieces the whole time, and changing up the map, and each person who plays it probably has a slightly unique spin on it. Yeah,
that is interesting. Like it's not going to be played ever the same way, like
not exactly,
by anyone.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple points where it has to line up perfectly. But your way that you're going to solve this puzzle will be different. Even just you playing it a second time is probably going to be different, and then completely different between two other people.
Yeah, and then like throughout the worlds as you go along, the puzzles do get more complicated.
Sure.
Like you have to be creative and has little twists on the puzzle solving. So it's not just, oh great, I'm doing the same mechanic throughout this whole game.
Yeah, there are lots of games I've played like that where it's like you got one gimmick and it's just really the same gimmick the entire game. Yeah. This game is not that. I mean, it has one particular play style. Like you do the same thing, you move the map puzzles, but the puzzles themselves are different every time.
Yeah. Well, I read that the developer, his inspiration was this old idea that he had to like create a video game with a board game feel. So each like piece of the map is like a tile that you're moving around.
I can say I don't know why, being a board gamer.
Yeah,
I don't know why I never made that connection.
I'm surprised. Yeah.
Well, here I am, surprised.
Yeah, you
are. Well, you want to talk about some kiddo meters?
Are we already done with the game?
Well, I mean, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, we want you guys to play this game. It's like, really cute.
It's super cute.
I think anyone would love it.
Anyone really would love it. I think it was received fairly well.
Yeah, the console reviews were really good. The PC reviews were kind of mixed.
Well, they're all sticklers out there.
Yeah.
You guys are sticklers. I'd say this game is best enjoyed on a console.
I
you could play it mouse and keyboard, but I think controller just really makes it feel natural. And
well, you can cozy up.
You definitely cozy up with it.
This is a game that you need to cozy up with to properly enjoy.
Which we'll talk more in depth about being cozy with this game in the near future.
The first kiddo meters.
Let's talk about them. So, starting from the top, Spook. Okay, is there like I'm just trying to remember. Is there any moment of Spook at all? I feel like in my vague memory, I think there might be like one like slight Spook.
There are, if a kiddo is very sensitive, then I think there could be slight moments of spook.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, when there's fog in the forest, when things are constantly changing in the sands in the desert, and with the volcano.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when, like, when the volcano's going to erupt. I don't think that's giving away anything.
No. You go to a volcano place, you know that thing's going to erupt.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You go to a volcano in a video game.
It's going to erupt.
I wonder what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I think, isn't there a volcano in Breath of the Wild? Or just like in
that thing totally erupts.
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh.
I mean, Ocarina of Time, there's a volcano, it doesn't erupt. But I mean, you fight a dinosaur inside of it.
What?
Moving on.
How did we not talk about this in the first episode?
Moving on.
I feel like we need to replay that now. Okay.
So
yeah, I think of really kiddos, and also like when someone moves away, they kind of vanish. Like they kind of disappear. Oh, sorry. And it was actually really cute when the kiddos were watching me play. Bear was like, "I didn't know he could disappear."
That's really funny.
It was really funny.
I think the only thing that could be potentially spooky is that there's like little insects in the little underground section, right? Or like there's like a tiny worm.
That's just a cute little earthworm. Okay, that's not right. Even.
I guess that's what I was thinking about. But
that's what you were thinking about?
My vague memory. Oh, vague.
No, it's just a cute little earthworm.
All right. So spook meter like less than 1.
Yeah.
Non-zero, but less than 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to cuteness. Hitting it out of the park with cuteness again. Okay, but I don't think I'm going to call it a 10. I don't think it could beat Kirby's Dream Course in cuteness.
I was going to ask you. I actually think it's cuter.
What? No.
Well, there's just
impossible.
there's a depth to the cuteness. There's a charm.
That's true. Yeah,
that's not present.
That's true.
In
Kirby is like Kirby, and other cute characters like Kirby. Sorry, Kirby, are just cute, like relentlessly. Like they're like one-dimensionally cute.
Yeah,
Kirby is one-dimensionally cute. Carto has like a couple dimensions. Like she gets worried sometimes. She is happy. She's whimsical. She's a little mischievous sometimes. Like she has like a little wink sometimes in certain dialogues. I remember. Yeah, I think the Carto character is a lot more relatable than Kirby.
Well, and also when you go into playing Kirby, Kirby is well known enough at this point that's like, Kirby is cute. You're going into it with an expectation of cuteness. Yeah, and with this, like, you're kind of meeting Carto. Yeah, you're meeting her. Yeah, that is different. Oh my gosh. I never even thought about it, but I really hope they make a second Carto game. I think they could with her, like, maybe even being a little bit older. Yeah. Revisiting some of the friends. Yeah. And, yeah. That's cool. Going on more adventures. I would love that. Well, anyway, cuteness. I personally think just because Kirby is relentlessly cute, I don't think it beats Kirby. I think I'm going to give it a 9. 9 cuteness. Come on. I want to give it a 10. I think part of this might be because you have a history with video games. I have a history with books. Yeah. And Carto is a lot more like a book. Yeah. It's a lot more. Carto is like a little character in a little storybook, and that makes her even more appealing to me. Well, if we're holding up the cards, like, for a high diver, I got the 9, you got the 10. Yeah, that's true. All right, the sweet spot age. So, Bunny was playing it the other day, and I mean, she was having a good time. She was having a good time, but that doesn't mean that she was like really grasping how she should be playing it. No, but I mean, there was a couple good learning opportunities. Like when I was playing it with her, or she started her own file, right? Yeah. She was starting in the first little area. And this is a great opportunity to have a child learn about the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. That's true. Because one of the first puzzles you run into is, hey, my house is over to the east. And that kind of encourages you to take a tile, pick it up, and kind of flop it around so that you can get yourself to the east, basically. Yeah, and then the, what is it? I think the house shows up or something like that. Well, the house shows up, but then there's something else that appears on the north that you need to attach to the north. Right. Yep. And yet sometimes you have to have certain tiles facing like a certain direction for like a thing, something to happen next. And then you have to also figure out that Carto needs to be able to move to that area. Right. Whenever, like, you might be able to figure out, like, oh, okay, this can connect here, but that doesn't mean that Carto will be able to get there. Right, exactly. Yeah, so that's where the puzzle comes in. But, so Bunny, we read that to Bunny, and I was like, oh, you gotta move your thing to the east. And she was like, I don't know what that is. And I realized, like, oh, we've never taught this person cardinal directions until now. So here's Carto, the cardinal directions teacher. Luckily the map has a nice big compass rose in the top right. So I was like, here you go, Bunny. N is for north, E is for east. She kind of grasped it. And I think she was catching on. I was like, east. And then at first she started going down. I was like, that's not east. Like whatever. Like, it was a good learning opportunity for cardinal directions. I find it really funny just because 2 or 3 weeks ago, my dad, he's a retired survival instructionist. He was taking us on a little hike. Yeah. And he brought his compass to show to the kiddos. Yeah. And I was like, and he was like teaching them about it. And I was like, oh my goodness, we should probably have a compass. And I texted you that, and you're like, yeah, have your phone. There's a compass on that. So that's a compass. So I just kind of find it funny, like, the older generation, if you will, like, here's your compass, this is how you learn this. And now us saying, like, oh, there's a video game and there's a compass in the corner, this is how they can learn it. Yay! Hooray! Modern learning. You don't need to go outside to learn about directions. No. Just play a video game. No, so she was able, like, there's definitely some value, there's a lot of value in it for her. Yeah. At 5. Uh-huh. But I think sweet spot age is closer to 8 or 9. Yeah, I mean, just like last time we were talking about this with Zelda, like, if you're to set your child on their own, they gotta know how to read.
They gotta know how to comprehend.
Yeah.
So 8, 9, and then knowing those directions and puzzle solving by themselves, totally on their own. I think 8 and 9 is the sweet spot.
I don't even necessarily think on their own.
Yeah.
I think you can be there with them even at 8 and 9.
Yeah.
I just think like for it to not be painful for you to watch them sometimes.
Yeah, because it was getting painful with Bunny. I was watching her play. She would just take a piece and just move it like
So far
super
away.
far away.
Well, okay, in her defense, she had been watching me play it, and
Okay.
I was at a later part in the game
Yeah.
where I did need to be moving some pieces farther away to match up those pieces and then connect them again
Okay.
to the map.
Right.
So she saw me, was like, oh, so you like have your separate workspaces, basically. So she was trying to move it way far away.
That's really funny.
But it was way far away.
Oh, yeah. It was out there. 100% out there. I loved it.
I find it so interesting that they allow that in the game, too.
Yeah. There's no border. Well, maybe there is. Maybe she just didn't run into it yet. But
it's a really big border.
Very huge
you can't
border.
run into any other like areas in the world either.
yeah, if you're not careful, your child or you could just have pieces scattered across the map. You can't like zoom out or anything like
I
that.
kind of want to test it out now.
Anyway, sweet spot age. You want to say 7, 8, 9?
Sure.
Is that
just
too
because-
large of a range?
Well, our oldest is 5, so we just don't know exactly.
Yeah, we are kind of postulating.
Yeah, a little bit.
Kind of postulating. But I don't know.
I don't know, when
I've
they're old
said
enough to like really grasp puzzles,
Puddles.
when they
When they
really
can
can
grasp
understand
puddles.
puzzles, puzzles and reading and all that.
Yeah.
Understand directions,
Mhm.
and my guess is that would be closer to 8.
I agree. But it was still very fun at 5.
Yes.
Because once she started getting a grasp of it, she actually was interested, at least our child was interested in actually doing the puzzling. Like with a little bit of guidance, she was having fun with taking the pieces, flipping them around, making things match or whatever.
And then moving around within the world too.
Yeah, she enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And then talking to people.
It's so charming. It's hard not to enjoy it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Bear at 3 was also loving watching it.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about how kiddos can best interact. So do you think them playing is the best way for them to interact, at least for kiddos at our age, or having us just kind of like read it like a storybook?
Well, I think
play
that
like a
this will go into a subtopic later.
Yeah.
But I think that the best way for them to interact younger than 8 or so, younger than the sweet spot age, would be to watch.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to say any more about that.
Pass on ability.
Pass on ability. So I don't know. I don't know how well this would be to passing on. And when we were talking about pass on ability, we're talking about, like a one player experience where your 2 children or you and your spouse can just like kind of pass the controller to each other to make a fun co-op experience for a single player game.
Yeah.
I don't think this game is incredibly pass onable.
No.
It's best to, because like, I think the best kind of pass onable games are like ones that have inherent like technical challenges, or like Mario, you gotta jump or whatever. It's like fun for you to be pressing the buttons in that moment. In this, like puzzle games, kind of like Baba Is You, and this game and other puzzle games, I think it's fine if one person's in control. I'm not like yearning for the controller.
I think the other person can be engaged.
Right.
And give suggestions. And maybe like if Bunny were playing it one day when they're a little bit older.
Yeah.
And she were really stumped on a puzzle, then she could hand it over to Bear and he could have a try at the puzzle.
Right.
But like, I don't think that there's not really good pass on ability.
No, I wouldn't say it's super pass onable. Let's talk a little bit about the music.
Oh, I was listening to the music with the kiddos the other day while I was drawing the map of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice.
Very nice.
It was
Very
peaceful.
ambient. Very peaceful. Doesn't it kind of build on itself too, like as you progress through a chapter, or
I
like
don't think
does
so.
it, or does it just kind of stay the same?
Kind of just stays the same. It's really nice background music.
Yeah.
My only complaint about it
Uh-huh.
is that altogether, like the collection of the soundtrack, it's only like 40 minutes. If
Oh,
that.
really? Kind of
Yeah,
short.
It is really short. It's a short game.
Yeah, that's true. I would say though, I never got tired of listening to the music though.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's good puzzling music.
Good puzzling music. Love it. Well, is there anything more for us to talk about the game?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's talk about some fun subtopics. So the first thing we wanted to discuss is single player gaming with the family, either just with you and your family or with you and your spouse, basically making that an entire event with you and your family. Just
Yeah.
watching one person play a single player game, all of you guys engaged in that one single player game together, making decisions together, experiencing the story, going through challenges and tribulations together. Just the activity of you don't have to play a multiplayer game to engage the entire family.
Yes.
Yeah,
This has been one of the topics I've been most excited to talk about.
absolutely. So why don't you talk about how we kind of stumbled into the activity?
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll go back a little bit. In 2020, that's when we. Well, yeah. I would say in 2020 is when we started doing it. It was at the end because 2020 was a really hard year for us, just like it was for everyone.
Yeah.
Blinkdoor was deployed for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, we were separated. Like, we only saw each other before October for like 4 weeks of the year.
Yeah. And because I was gone at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
came back for a handful of like 3 weeks, and then we were separated again all the way until October.
We were apart for my 21st birthday.
Yep.
We were apart for discovering I was pregnant
Yep.
with our third. We were apart when your Nana passed away.
Yep.
We were apart through the whole COVID, like the worst of the
The brunt
the
of
real
COVID.
buildup of COVID. Yeah. We were apart for our daughter's 4th birthday.
Yep.
We were apart when I was alone in the hospital when I gave birth to our third.
Yep.
That was a traumatic experience.
For sure.
Yeah, and we are very dependent people.
Yeah.
We rely on spending like all of our time together.
Yep.
So it was a really hard year. So when Blinkdoor came back, I mean, all that we wanted was to spend every moment together.
Yeah.
And we wanted to play video games. And we just kind of wound up that we started watching you play Animal Crossing.
Yeah, at first, because I mean that's what I played, and that's what a lot of folks played at the beginning of COVID. Was
Yeah.
Animal Crossing was like the savior game for a lot of people, and I played a bunch of it, and we played it separately.
But we were really bummed about that because
Yeah.
what we were excited about was
just
to
playing it
play it next
together.
to each other. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, came back, was playing Animal Crossing, and I don't know exactly how we stumbled into it. I think it was because I was just kind of getting an idea from my brother, who he was telling me that him and his wife had been playing Assassin's Creed, I think Odyssey or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And it just put the idea in my head. I don't know why I hadn't thought about it before, but they would just spend evenings just my brother playing the game and his wife just watching him and them just chilling out.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh
They
gosh.
are incredibly chill people.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not surprising to me that that is one of their favorite activities.
Well, and then it became one of our favorite activities.
Yeah, we do it less, just you and me in the evening. But watching you play Animal Crossing became just kind of a favorite activity for everyone.
Yep.
Especially to wake up in the morning.
Oh, for sure.
That was so nice. Like
Yep.
I will say that despite being apart for so long,
Yeah.
you got a lot of time off afterwards.
Oh yeah, I got
just
tons
to be
of
at
time.
home, and that was incredible. So we spent a lot of that first with Animal Crossing, and then
Mm-hmm.
I think the second game before we got into Dragon Quest
Yeah.
11.
Yep.
Oh, can't wait to talk about that game. Although I'm kind of dreading it. I want to spoil everything. Yeah, it was Carto because we got the
Yeah.
Xbox Game Pass.
That's right. We got Game Pass, and Carto was on there. I got Game Pass. We were just kind of scrolling through a bunch of games, and we came across Carto, and it was one of those things where it's like, oh, that's cute. Let's just try it. And then
Yeah.
like we tried it for the rest of the day.
Yes. Oh my god.
We just played the heck out of it. Like we
For
just fell in
some
love
reason,
right away.
whenever I think about you playing that, we were in the apartment.
Yep.
I remember eating apple slices and peanut butter, all of us together on the couch,
Yes.
and with our crappy rocking chair that we had.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It was so bad. And the like scenes from outside the apartment. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very nostalgic for
Super
me.
nostalgic.
So that definitely is something I will say. I have a very subjective opinion about this game, but objectively, it is really charming and cute and everything we've already said.
Absolutely, yep. But yeah, I think we did Carto before Dragon's Quest. You're saying?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think you're right about that. So yeah, I think that like after playing Carto and just all doing it together, you know, experiencing like a storybook together, we're like, oh man, we should do this more often with other games. So I found Dragon's Quest 11 after that. Dragon Quest, sorry, not Dragon's Quest.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole nother
spin
game on it.
Yep, completely different series. We did it with Dragon Quest. I think that was like the longest game that we stuck with, and like that was just kind of our activity. Instead of maybe watching a movie or instead of watching a show or something like that, we would do this instead because it was just way more engaging. Like we were reading. It was fun. I was doing voices for everyone.
Oh yeah, you were.
Or did they have voice acting? I think.
Okay. Well, let's save a lot of that for a separate episode.
We'll
but for Carto,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you did voices. Even
I did a lot
reading
of voices
for that.
Yep,
I think we fell asleep a lot.
I think so too.
It is a sleepy game.
Very sleepy. Yeah, don't try to play this game when you're already kind of sleepy.
Well, if you're just gonna play it, that's fine. But reading it aloud to kiddos, something about reading aloud to kiddos.
Oh yeah, I mean even today I was reading a book to them and I was passing out.
It was so funny. Oh my gosh, I was like following along the words and they were just getting more and more slurred. Like, impressed they even read that much before you fell asleep.
Eventually fell asleep. Yes,
you did fall asleep after that.
You did. Anywho, yeah, so we did with Dragon Quest and it was just super fun to just like go through the story, and Bunny and Bear, like we engaged with them with the story and they were excited to see what happens next.
Yeah, they really were. They were really invested.
Yeah.
In both games. They loved watching Carto. It is a little storybook.
Yeah.
And all of us all snuggled up together, being close, and the natural light coming in and watching you play this charming little game. It's a really special memory for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even this last week when I was replaying it, the kiddos would get too warm from playing outside and come in and snuggle up and watch me play and ask me questions and make comments, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
And having them engaged.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing I want to say is that really consider the activity of playing a game and everyone watching as a viable activity. Apart from just like, you know, all watching a movie. I think the benefits of doing it over watching a movie is that with watching a movie, yeah, okay, you're all engaging in a story, but it's just happening at you.
You're turning off your brain, which is nice sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there are times to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's beneficial and everyone loves doing that. But I think if, you know, more often than not, if you're feeling like, oh man, like I want to interact with my child, but I just want to chill and still sit or whatever.
Yeah. And if I just like read a book,
if you read a book, that's not super engaging for you, the parent, right? Sometimes. I mean, sometimes it can be. But for me, like my first choice to be like, I'm going to have an amazing time, right? Reading a book. I like reading books to the kids, but I mean, I'm a video game boy.
Well, and also when you're reading books, the reason why I haven't been reading a whole lot to them, besides my mouth and face being so swollen that I couldn't talk most of the week.
Sure.
Is that like you have to have the book within your arm's reach and like eyesight.
True. We have 3 kids.
And we have 3 kiddos and they move around a lot. So when like they're fighting over who's where and I can't see the picture.
Yeah.
So if you're playing through the game and watching it together, then it's like you are free. They're free to move.
Yeah, I agree. Also, it's fun when you're playing a game, especially like Dragon Quest or something like that. You got like a whole team of cheerleaders for you. You got a whole team.
That's true.
Yeah, when you're like trying to do a thing, because I remember there's some hard battles.
Bunny was a little cheerleader for you, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. There's some tough battles I remember in Dragon Quest where
if you talk too much about it, we won't be able to do a separate episode on it.
No, it's untrue. There's so much to that game. But yeah, everyone gets invested, everyone gets involved, and I think that's a great activity for families. But I also want to talk about how it's a great opportunity to do with you and your spouse, or you and your wife, and your significant other. I've talked to folks plenty of times, and just friends that I have, right, that have a hard time, like kind of finding something that they like to do with their spouse or a significant other that isn't like watching a show, watching a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people have the same hobby, being watching a movie or show. But I don't think a lot of folks that have a spouse that is not necessarily into gaming would consider the single player experience, like just watching a more cinematic experience, as an activity option.
It does have to be a more cinematic game, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think that sometimes if I'm going to watch you play a game in the evening, my instinct is not always to want to, because it can be a little boring.
Sure, yeah. I don't think you can engage with your spouse if you're going to be playing like a shooty game. Like,
no.
Not very many people just want to sit on the sidelines of a shooty game.
Now, if I'm like wanting to get sleepy or wanting to read my book,
Right.
It is nice if you are have it on the TV, and you're on the couch, and I'm able to like snuggle up with you, and that is nice. I do feel more a part of it, but also I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I want to spend time with you, not like just have
Next to you.
Make you watch whatever I feel like doing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I pitch it out there as an activity to all those parents and folks with spouses, to consider this a very viable activity to try. So I think some great options to start with are very story-based cinematic games like The Last of Us. There's some Assassin's Creed out there are great. Mass Effect is an awesome game because you're just making choices, and you can kind of work with your spouse to make these choices.
Yeah, I think those are the best games for me to watch you play.
Right.
Are the ones that I can really like make the decisions with you and puzzle it out with you. That's why I think I'm sorry, we're so distracted. The kitten is like all up in my desk.
Yeah.
In the printer and everything. Okay. Carto. I think that is a really, really strong candidate, especially for a first game to sit down and try to play together, because you can make the decision on where the map pieces are going to be together and solving the puzzles together.
Right.
And it's just so automatically engaging and endearing that you want to find out the story. You know what?
What?
We started doing this before 2020.
Oh?
Yeah, when I was pregnant with Bunny, that was when Breath of the Wild came out.
Oh my gosh, that's so right. We did this with Breath of the Wild. I forgot.
We did this with Breath of the Wild. I would get kind of grumpy when you played without me because I wanted to discover the story with you.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot all about that. Sorry.
Yeah, that was special.
Sorry if you hear our cute cat. She's playing with her toys. She's climbing all over the place. She's got the zoomies. We did do that with Breath of the Wild, and that was a great one to do it with. So Breath of the Wild,
a good one. Yeah,
another great recommendation for that. Just because like Breath of the Wild isn't super, I'd say the gameplay of Breath of the Wild is just interesting to watch.
It is. Yeah, you want to do it with games that are have an art style that's really engaging and pretty.
Yeah, for both of you. Not just one person, but for both of you.
But if you're trying to convince your spouse to do it with you, then you should do it more geared towards what
for sure. Yeah, first. I mean, I am kind of pitching this message to a lot of folks out there that are trying to get their spouses into gaming, or like just trying to make gaming a more part of each other's lives.
That's true, because like watching you go through puzzles sometimes makes me be like, oh, I really want to like pick up the controller and do it myself.
Absolutely, yeah. I know there's a lot of couples out there that like the one side of the relationship just never grew up with games, and it's just kind of foreign to them. And I know a lot of folks that are bummed out that their significant other is just not into gaming as much as them as a hobby. So it makes it like hard in their evenings when they have time off of whatever, either time off of work, time off of parenting, whatever, and they just want to be together, but they just don't know what to do. It ends up ending in a little bit of discourse because like you want to do your primary hobby, right? And you both want to do your primary hobbies, and sometimes it just don't mix. Yeah,
and I mean, there are plenty of times that we have what we call hangout time, which is when we're both just kind of doing our own thing next to each other.
Yep.
But we really try hard to balance it with together time, where we are both engaged in the same thing that's really important and valuable.
Yeah. And this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, but we were saying some games.
Oh yeah, some great
recommendations with this. I'm saying like a really good starter game to get into the idea is Carto.
Yeah, agreed. And then Breath of the Wild, Mass Effect, any games that kind of make you make decisions. Now, I will say games I wouldn't recommend, even though you might think at first, are games like Skyrim. I wouldn't recommend Skyrim right from the get-go because
Not from the get-go.
like the gameplay, in my opinion, not super interesting to watch.
That's very dark.
Super dark. Yeah, really grimy.
Yeah. I had fun as a child watching my brother play it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was already very inundated in watching him play games.
Agreed. Now, for those who love puzzles, and I mentioned this earlier, Baba Is You.
Oh, that's a really
great
good one to do together. Especially if you're a little drinky. Just saying those phrases and equations out loud.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have had a friend over and you've played it with them while I was in the other room and just listening to the conversation. Yeah. Baba is rock.
Wall. Baba is wall.
Wall is death.
Yeah. That's a great one. I'm trying to think of some retro options.
I will throw out before you do. I think a good basis is games that are very cinematic with a lot of story.
Agreed.
And or games that are puzzly. Like Final Fantasy 10. That's the one you're doing right now.
Yeah.
That's the one we're currently on. That isn't very puzzly.
No, yeah. And if you're into JRPGs, I think that's kind of an easy kill because the story is fantastic.
Well, exactly. It has a really good story and a lot of good cutscenes.
Yep.
To keep the kiddos engaged, especially if they're sleepy.
Yeah. I'd say most 3D, not gonna say most. I'd specifically call out Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 10, and Final Fantasy 12.
Yeah.
I think are extremely engaging as a story experience.
I bet Octopath Traveler would be a good spouse one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't done that one. I don't know why.
No, we haven't. We should.
We should.
We should. We're doing Final Fantasy 10 right now. All right. Well, anything.
Well, you were going to do some retro game options.
Yeah. Before we move on, retro game options. I think single player that it would be really engaging. I think there's some cute games that are just fun to watch the other person overcome the challenges of the game. Right. Not even necessarily having super cinematic experience. Right. But like Link to the Past. I think that game is just a joy to watch.
I agree.
In general, like. I'm never dying for the controller, right? If I'm sitting on the sidelines of Link to the Past, right? I'm never dying for the controller unless they're getting stuck or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just fun to just watch. It's colorful. The sounds are fun. It's fun to puzzle out the dungeon or whatever, with your spouse. I think that's a great option. And then
Is that the one where Link is like a painting sometimes?
No, that's the sequel.
That's the sequel. Wait.
The sequel to Link to the Past is Link Between Worlds.
I always forget about Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I'd say if you're into spooks, there's of course Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Those are really great games if you're into spooky stuff. We're personally not into spooky things.
What's that one space game that we started?
Outer Wilds. Yep.
That you did not warn me that was spooky. I cannot handle spook.
Yeah.
I get bad dreams. I got bad dreams from that game.
Yep.
That's a good one too, though.
That's a good one. But yeah, definitely Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and then we'll have to make a Halloween episode for some spooky games.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next subtopic. So we're going to get back a little bit more referencing to Carto, but we wanted to talk about when to step in and help your child when they're struggling with a video game.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier that Bunny was struggling a little bit with Carto because we kind of gave her the setup with what she needed to do in the game, but she was floundering for a while. Like how long did we let her go? Like on her own for a little bit?
I was watching her and trying to help, but my mouth was still really hurting. I'm actually really proud of myself for how much I've been able to talk in this.
Great. You're doing great.
It's definitely going to hurt a lot later. I took some ibuprofen beforehand, so I think that's been helping.
Fantastic.
But at that point, I wasn't really able to talk very well and help her, and you were kind of busy managing the other kiddos.
Yep.
And I think that made her really struggle a little bit more.
Right.
Because I think it's like some gentle hints and nudges were acceptable, like in the beginning of her just like trying to figure out what's going on. Right. You really need to read the text to her.
Yep. I mean, I remember there was one moment though that like she knew what she needed to do. There was like this boat that she needed to get herself to, and she was trying
That
for
was the
a
painful.
while.
Oh my gosh, I stopped watching.
Yeah,
That was the painful part.
it was painful, and I'm just trying to remember how long did we let her go before I stepped in and kind of helped her out.
Gosh.
Was it like 5 minutes?
Might have been more like 10.
10? It kind of feels like 10 because I remember I was flopping around with the other kids.
Yeah. It's hard to gauge when you're managing the other
It is
kiddos
hard to gauge.
how much time is passing.
Either way, Bunny was engaged with her challenge the entire time that time. Like
she was really trying the whole time. She wasn't giving up.
Yeah, and I think we were asking her too, like, "Oh, are you having fun?" Like we were checking in with her, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm having fun. Trying to do the thing." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, keep going on." But yeah, I took about 10 minutes, and then I was like, "Okay, I should probably help her out now." But that rose the question to us: when do you step in? What, like, right when they're getting frustrated? Right away? Do you let them, flounder for a little bit, frustrate? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I have a tendency to get frustrated when playing games sometimes.
Yeah. You yourself?
Me personally.
Okay.
I've always had that tendency.
Yeah.
And something that I have been teaching myself these last 23 years of my life is when to step away when I'm not having fun anymore in something that is meant to be fun.
Right.
And that is something that I really want to teach the kiddos as well. And the interesting part, the reason why I'm tying it into this conversation, this bit of the conversation, is that, like, I don't necessarily want to wait until she's frustrated.
Right.
A video game is meant to be fun.
Yeah.
You're playing.
Yep.
I remember someone telling me that when I used to play saxophone and I was awful at it, and they pointed out, like, when you're playing, that's the word. You're playing.
Right.
And it's the same for video games. You're playing a game.
Right.
And it's really meant to be fun. But some frustration is good.
Yeah, it's important.
Lesson learning.
I totally agree. It is, that's the thing. Like, you want your child to have fun. You don't want them to create a bad relationship with the game.
Yeah, you don't want them to get so frustrated that they're like, no, like they have bad association with this game.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna set this down and like move on or whatever.
Storm off and never touch it again.
Exactly. Yeah, like you don't want that to happen. So yeah, when do you step in? I think, like, again, it depends on your child. Like Bear, he goes from 0 to 60 when it comes to his frustration.
He's a volcano.
Yeah, he's
an active volcano
up right away. Because as we mentioned in our first episode, the bear's biggest issue is just movement of the character.
I think we mentioned that not in the first episode.
Second one?
Yeah.
All right, the second one. I mentioned this before that the bear has issue with moving his character. So even today we were adventuring around, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I handed him the Game Boy because I was our adventure pal today. Brought some Game Boys with Mario Land and a few other hot titles. He was playing Mario Land, and I wasn't watching him, but I'm confident that he was just smashing the left button because that's the one closest to his little thumb, right? Mm-hmm. So he just wasn't going anywhere, and he immediately got pissed that he was not moving, and he was just starting to get really frustrated.
Well, okay, we were having a long day of yard sailing and farmers market.
Oh, sure, but I mean, this has happened even without all those pretenses,
I know.
Like he will get frustrated pretty quick if it's not going his way.
Yeah.
And in the past, I would try to encourage him, like, hey, little bear, like, you gotta try, just press the buttons, man. Like, just put your thumbs on the things and press the things.
I think, okay, maybe that should be the rule. I am willing to step in once our child has really actually tried.
Right.
Once they have, I can clearly see.
You can confirm that they tried.
I can see that they have done all these things.
Yep.
They have really tried to problem solve this, and they just can't figure it out.
Now, will you step in at first, or will you verbally suggest first?
I think first verbally suggest.
Yeah.
Talk to them, ask, okay, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Right. And if they just are getting frustrated, they tried all the things, then take the controller, move it just so that's easier for them.
Sure.
It's similar for like the kiddos' first puzzles.
Right.
When you kind of put the pieces where
Next to
they're
each other.
supposed to be and
Yeah.
then just have them try to connect the pieces.
Right. Yeah. Because they still have fun. You know, they're having fun accomplishing the thing. That's where it's fun for them. The barrier for them is the control or something like that.
Yeah. And otherwise, if it's more like Bear, then we can say, okay, just press other buttons.
Right.
And sometimes I do step in, depending on the situation. Just like, okay, I'm just going to press this other button for you.
Yep.
And most of the time, it didn't teach him anything.
No, but it made him happy for a second.
It made him happy for a second.
Yeah.
And I was trying to show him this is what to do. But if he still can't figure it out, then you put the game down. You walk away. If it's no longer fun, you walk away. But if they're frustrated because they tried everything and they're just stumped, then maybe have them walk away for a minute to cool down, and then if they're willing to come back.
Yeah, if they're willing to come back. I agree. I think that's a good meter. Now, I mean, that is mostly we're talking about Bear, and his biggest issue is just control. But I'm curious for a little bit older children, right? That their issue is not with controlling or, you know, using the user interface or whatever, but just dealing with the problem in the game at the moment. Like, for instance, Bunny's issue is just solving the puzzle, right? Or maybe in another game, it'd be like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, or some other Zelda game where you have to, you know, they just can't defeat the enemy to progress, right? Like,
oh my gosh, yes, because I've gotten frustrated when, like, I can't figure out how to defeat this boss.
Now, I think in that moment, I don't think it depends on the game. Like, if it was a Zelda game and they're stuck on a boss, I wouldn't want them to get stuck on that boss and then me be like, nah, you can't progress until you beat that boss or whatever, right? Like, and then they just can't do it, and then they just get, you know, discouraged, and then they just never come back to it, right? I would be bummed if that were to happen.
Well, but I think that you can give them hints.
Well, definitely. I'm just saying, like, so let's remember Wind Waker. Remember with you?
Oh, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I don't.
Wind Waker, first Fire Temple boss, right?
Oh gosh.
You had a horrible time with that boss.
Heavily freaking pregnant.
Yeah.
I am not the best pregnant person. I'm aware of this. I was heavily pregnant with Bear.
Yeah.
To the point that sweet little barely 2-year-old Bunny came over and gave me a hug because she saw that I was a frustrated pregnant woman. It was so sweet. Oh my god.
It was very sweet.
But yeah, I was getting actively, that's what I've been thinking about this whole time. I was getting actively angry. I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to beat this boss. You were telling me what to do.
Right.
I was trying to do it. I couldn't do it.
Right.
What do you do at that point? What do you do with your spouse? What do you do with your spouse?
I did not think this would come to this
frustrated and can't beat it. Like, would you help? Would you just do it for me at that point?
So I think it depends on the game. Like, I think for you, because like the object of like a Zelda game, an adventure game, is for you to continue on. And you're an adult, right? You're an adult. You know the challenge before you. Oh, okay. I'll back up and say, is the fun in you overcoming the challenge, or is the fun you going through the game and experiencing the adventure? I think that's the question you got to ask yourself. Like, for me, I love overcoming the challenges and the adventure. Like, I think the adventure to me is like somewhat secondary because, you know, I'm a video game boy. I'm a speedrunner. I like doing the technical challenges.
That's what it is. I'm a book reader.
Yeah.
I love stories.
Right.
The adventure is my priority.
Well, there you go.
Now, is that a decision you should, as a parent,
like make for your child?
Make for your child, especially if they're a little older.
Oh, that's how I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
I would say Bunny is, I don't know, she likes some of the technical challenges, but I wouldn't say she like loves it. I think when Bear is a little bit older, I think he's going to be more into the technical stuff. Like him he'll find joy in overcoming the technical issue.
Yeah, the challenge, the boss.
Right. But I think Bunny just wants to like experience, just get to the next part of the story.
Yeah, she just wants to experience it. I do think she's 5.
True.
And she needs to learn to overcome challenges.
Right, yeah. I don't think we can gauge. I think that we still need to put them through some trials and tribulations because it's a video game. Like we can't assume their entire video game identity from their 5-year-old selves.
For sure. We need them.
And let's all remember, for a lot of those listening, I am sure that you were in this scenario. When I was a kid, I had an N64 and I had like 5 games, right? Like if I was going to set down my game, I had 4 other options, and I'd probably gotten stuck in 3 out of the 4 of them before. So it's just like, this is what I got. This is what I'm gonna play. Like,
do we have time to add another subtopic and talk about our idea for?
I think we should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should. We'll talk about that after this little topic.
Yeah, let's finish this up.
Yeah, I had five games or so, and like, you know, that's what I had to come back to and play. Like, if I was frustrated and stopped playing games, like, what I came back to was the same game, right? So like, when I was a kid and I was getting stuck on like Mario Sunshine, right? There's like some shines I remember I just had such a hard time with, couldn't get past it. But I mean, like, I wanted to play games, so I made myself like work at it, right? And that was like super valuable for me as a kid when I overcame it. I went to school, told my friends that I overcame this boss or whatever.
And now as an adult, you are a very effective puzzle solver.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say gaming has really helped me out in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because it helped me being persistent to find the answer to something. Yeah.
So I think that in terms of this question of when to step in to help your child, I think you have to gauge it.
Yep.
I think that you should allow them some frustration.
Yeah.
And give some hints. And when they're too frustrated, make them step away and come back later.
I agree. But I think what assists...
Oh my gosh.
That...
I think the fireflies are starting.
Oh, wow. Oh. Yeah, they totally are.
We see fireflies in our yard.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. I grew up always wishing I could see, wishing there were fireflies. There weren't fireflies where I grew up. And there are here, and it makes me so happy. Okay, sorry. Let's continue talking about video games.
Well, I think that leads into our impromptu topic, which we mind read each other. Moving into the next topic. So I think what really assists a child's ability, and we haven't put this into action yet, and we really need to, because Bunny is of age now for us to start doing this. But basically enacting a self-imposed, or I guess imposing this onto your child or whatever, limited amount of games to choose from at a certain time.
Yes, I think limited options for children in all things are very important.
Right. We live in a day and age where sometimes your child might have access to an iPad and 1 bajillion options for games or activities or something, right?
Well, and think about like yourself when you have all those options. It's so hard to settle on one thing. Even, like as an adult, even like with anything, with food.
Yeah.
If you can choose from anything that you want to eat.
Yeah.
Versus like these 3 options. Yeah.
It's harder.
It can be very overwhelming, and that's way too much pressure to put on a child.
For sure. And also it encourages the activity of just like the moment you come to a stopping point or like a point where it's too hard, you can just move on super fast. I mentioned this in the first episode about Ocarina of Time, which kind of inspired me to go on this trek of things. I was noticing that it's just too easy for a lot of kids to just, once they meet with a hardship, they can just move on to something else right away and not get through a thing.
Yeah, and we even talked about it with Bear wanting to change characters in Kirby's Dream Course.
Yeah. Like,
not allowing a child to follow their every whim, basically.
Right. So the idea that we have had and that we want to enact, and then we think is a good idea, and I guess we'll have to come back at a later episode to kind of circle back and say, did it actually work?
Yeah.
But our idea is to basically impose like a monthly or bi-monthly limit.
I think monthly.
I think monthly would be good. Of games. So basically for your child, and again, depending on the amount of children you have, you can scale this, but I think we were going to do like, they get to choose 2 or something like that, each of our kids.
Well, okay. I think Flower isn't old enough yet.
Sure.
When she is old enough to do this as well.
Yeah.
I think each of them will choose 1.
Right.
And then we choose 1.
That's right. Yeah. So they get to choose 1 game. That's what they're, that's their choice for the month. And they can all play between each other's pool of games.
Yeah,
right?
They can trade off their games. This is the pool of games that are available to them.
Yeah. So
and when I say that we choose a game, we are choosing the game for them to play.
Exactly. So effectively there's like 4, maybe 5 games for that month that they can play from. Right. So that's going to encourage them to like get through the thing. Right. Like if they are playing, maybe they can choose like maybe we could dynamically choose this. But if they all chose like a story game, like if Bunny chose Zelda and then Bear chose like a Final Fantasy game or something like that, like a bunch of really heavy story things, we would probably interject like a fun, lighthearted thing like Smash Bros. Or Mario Party, right?
Yeah.
But basically making it so, like, if they're frustrated with one thing, they've only got a few options to choose from.
Yeah, we are artificially creating a similar environment to what we had growing up. That we already said was so beneficial, in terms of just sticking to a game and sticking to problem solving and conquering an issue.
Yep. As to actually imposing those limits, I know not everyone has access to physical cartridges like we have.
Yes, that is what's beneficial for us.
Yeah, it makes it easy that we can actually physically lock down the possession of these objects.
Yeah.
As for virtual media, there's parental controls out there. Like on the Switch, there's great parental controls. On the iPads, there's great parental controls. Like you can really control what your children have access to.
Well, and I think you can have like a picture of each game available, like somewhere like on the fridge or wherever that like they can see, they can remember, okay, these are my options and this is the one that I want. Yeah,
and then you could, if they try to break that or break into your stash of games or something like that, you can enact punishment, I guess, as needed. But
I would say they don't get to play.
Oh yeah, if they try to break, if they break into the chest of games, into the horde of games, then they probably lose some privileges there.
Now, I could imagine for Bunny especially, she, in like the classic group study of, here is a donut and it's stale and we'll get you fresh donuts if you just wait.
Yeah.
That classic study.
Mm-hmm.
Bunny's the person who would wait.
Yeah.
She, like, if she knows that she's going to have something like a treat later, and she's hungry now, she's gonna skip the snack and wait for the treat later.
Yeah.
I can imagine her getting really stuck in a game and being like, well, I guess I'm not playing video games this month.
Yeah. But I don't know. She might. I don't know. She
might. And honestly, that's good too.
Right. Like, I want them to feel like it almost empower them to be like, okay, well, I could play this game that I'm having a hard time with. Right. Or I could go play with my toys, go play outside, go do something, right? That's like healthy and good for me. Right.
Yeah. Versus, I'm just going to sit here and
wait
go
for
through
something
each
good
game that will come to me, like in WALL-E, that like everything's in front of my face, all the screens in front of my face with all of the beautiful, attractive things being flashed before my eyes.
Totally. Yeah. I think I'm challenging us to do it finally at this point.
Let's do it.
And challenging others out there to see how it works. I'm curious. Well, I think
we have
it's time
to talk about our last subject, or should we wrap it up?
I think we should probably wrap it up. We really need to put on a timer next time so we can kind of keep track. Let's get to the end of things. Let's talk about the games we're playing this week.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you were playing Carto.
I was playing Carto.
And
what else? I feel like I was playing
a little bit of Pokemon. Game. A little bit of Pokemon, maybe?
I haven't been in much of a Pokemon mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was mostly just playing Carto and then drawing the Carto picture that, if you want to see, I posted it on Instagram.
I was playing a lot of Game Boy stuff this week. I was playing a lot of Mario Land 1, which I love that game, but it looks horrible. And it plays horribly, too.
Yeah.
It's fairly ridiculous, I would say.
Oh, is that the one with the Koopas that turn into bombs?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's Koopas that turn into bombs. You visit Egypt. You visit
what?
You visit the Easter Islands. There's like Easter Island heads.
Interesting.
You visit the pyramids and all that. It's a weird game, but that's where Daisy comes from.
Oh,
Daisy comes from there. I was playing Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle again today.
Oh, yeah.
On Game Boy. Love that one. And then I had a really great pickup session today from the retro game store. I got Donkey Kong 64. I got Smash Bros.
I'm so excited you got Smash Bros. 64.
I know. We were just playing it the other day, and now I actually have the real thing.
It.
Yep. Now we have it for real. And then I was playing Mario Party 1 today with the bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was digging it. I can't believe I'm admitting this. And I've never played Mario Party 1 before in my whole life until today.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, today was the day. Played Mario Party 1 finally. And the mini games in there are legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're quite inventive. I mean, I can see how like the Mario parties afterward took a lot of inspiration.
Yeah.
Like there's some mechanics I had done in newer Mario parties past that, but I think Mario Party 1 started on a great foot. Jeez, a lot of hit classics in there.
Yeah. Oh, I was playing Ham Ham Games and Cooking Mama earlier this week.
Oh yes,
That wasn't good though. I love those games so much, but they just bring out the perfectionist in me.
Yeah.
Especially Cooking Mama. Like when you get your wisdom teeth removed, you can't like blow.
Oh my gosh, and you were trying to blow.
You had to, otherwise she'd be angry. I wouldn't get a perfect
You're
score.
putting yourself in so much pain.
If you make one mistake in that game,
The mama, she gets angry.
well, you get less than a perfect score.
I know, and you're a perfectionist.
It's because of that game that I'm a perfectionist.
All right. All right. You can catch us on Twitter at 2PS1C. That's 2, the letter P, the letter S, 1, and then C. On Instagram at 2players1controller, the number 2 and the number 1. Email us at 2players with a Z at the end, 1controller at gmail.com. Again, this is all numbers for the 2s and the 1s.
Unfortunately.
And then on YouTube,
you set up all these.
I know, I'm sorry. On YouTube at 2players1controller. I was Blinkdoor.
I'm Hedgehog Baker.
And thanks for listening. We'll catch you
Yay.
later in the future.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank you for spending our time with us. Yes.